Yes, the time has finally come for me to give my thoughts on Halloween Ends. Sorry this took so long, it's just that there was other reviews that I wanted to get out of the way first before I went into Halloween Ends. So, what did I think of Halloween Ends? Oh, who am I kidding? You read the damn title, you know what this video is all about. And because this movie was so bad, I decided to just make this video the 10 reasons why I think Halloween Ends sucks. But before we get into that, the movie wasn't 100% bad. There is a few aspects that I think were good, so before we get into the list, I'm going to give you the things that I liked about it. The first is the performances. Just like, this whole entire trilogy, the performances are great, and it's no different here. Halloween Ends, all the actors do a really great job. Another thing I liked is the death scenes. I think they're really brutal in this one, just as they were in the last one. And another thing, I liked the relationship between Laurie and Hawkins. I think that relationship is really nice. I think it was nice in the last film, and I think it's nice in this film. But folks, that's where the positives end, because the rest of the movie is really not that great. In fact, it's really bad. And so here are the 10 reasons why Halloween Ends sucks. Number 10 is the opening credits. And I know that some of you are probably scratching your heads wondering, what the hell are you talking about? The opening credits, what's bad about them? Well, it's not really a huge deal, which is why it's so low on the list. It's only number 10, but it's really not that the opening credits are bad. It's just that I don't like how they use blue font for the opening credits when the last two were orange. Yeah, I know some of you might think I'm nitpicking here, but it really bothered me. I mean, as soon as the opening credits started, I was like, why are they using blue font? It just doesn't fit with the pumpkin opening. Now, I have heard someone defend this by saying that the opening credits of all three films in the trilogy are supposed to mirror the first three Halloween movies. So Halloween 2018 uses the original Halloween movie's font, and Halloween Kills does Halloween 2's font, and Halloween Ends does Halloween 3's font. I like that idea on paper, but after seeing it, the Halloween 3 font just does not fit with the pumpkin opening. I'm sorry, it's just so weird looking. Number 9 is Lindsey. Again, this is sort of a smallish problem, so it's low on the list, but still. Why are you bringing back Lindsey if you're barely going to do anything with her character? She was brought back in the last movie and was basically a nothing character. I mean, she just kind of was there for fan service, so the fans can be like, whoa, there's Lindsey, and it's like, you did nothing with her. And it's the same here. Yeah, what's the point? I mean, I argued that there was no point to any of the old characters coming back in the last film, in my review of the last film. And yeah, it's the same here. Why is Lindsey here? She has like a few scenes, and that's pretty much it. Reason number 8 is the gang of bullies in the film. I mean, this has got to be the most cartoonish, most cliche bullies in any film. I mean, it's so ridiculous. The gang of bullies that Corey confronts throughout the film until he eventually kills them. Yeah, those gang of bullies. I don't know what they were thinking, but yeah, the performances are good, but this is like the only part of the performance aspect that was just way too cartoony. I really did not like the gang of bullies. Reason number 7 is Michael's death. I absolutely hate the idea of a Halloween movie ending with Michael's death. The idea of it completely goes against John Carpenter's point of the original Halloween. Michael is supposed to represent evil, and the point of the original Halloween is that evil never dies, and you kill him in the end of this movie in Halloween Ends. It's the exact same reason why I don't like the ending of Halloween 2 or Halloween H2O. Both of those movies ended with Michael's death. And it's pretty insulting to the original point too. Like, they really go out of their way at the end of this film to basically like shove in your face, haha, Michael's death, isn't this, like, look at this, Michael's dying. Now, one aspect involving this problem that I actually did like is the final shots of the movie, where you get locations and, shots of the inside of the house, and there's nothing there. Like, it's the complete opposite of the original Halloween's ending, and it's sort of a mirror image of the original film's ending. So with the original film, you have Michael's breathing and the shots of the locations and the music, and so the point is that, it's supposed to like show you that, Michael's still out there somewhere. But with Halloween Ends, it's the same idea, except it's trying to tell you the exact opposite. It's that, everything's calm now, there's no music, there's no sound, you don't hear anything. And yeah, that was a clever idea, but again, I don't like the idea of Michael dying. So that was the one positive thing that came out of that. Reason number 6 is Laurie being pushed aside once again. Yeah, I complained about this in my review of the last film, that, Laurie barely has any screen time, and it's pretty much the same in this film. She gets a little more screen time than she did in Halloween Kills, but still, I mean, like, throughout this entire trilogy, like, this isn't even a problem with just this film. This is a problem with the entire trilogy. They just push Laurie to the side. It's like, why is she barely doing anything? Like, you only get to see her really at the end of each of the films, and in Halloween Kills' case, you don't even get to see her at the end very much. No, instead of focusing on Laurie and Michael in this film, they instead focus on... Actually, we'll get to that later. Reason number 5 is Allyson being out of character. Now, in this film, Allyson and the new character Corey start a romance, and because of that, that leaves Allyson kind of pushing Laurie out of her life, and she wants to leave Haddonfield. She doesn't want to live there anymore. And it's like, the one thing that I think is just really stupid about her character, again, Andi Manichak, she does a really great job in this film, like, performance-wise, but it's just that, like, it doesn't make sense for her character to just all of a sudden push Laurie out, and it's like, we understood in the 2018 film why, it made sense that Allyson felt the way she did towards her grandmother. I mean, she doesn't believe in, Michael coming back, and she thinks Laurie's all crazy. But then when Michael actually does come back, she's like, wow, my grandmother was right. The boogeyman is real. He came back, and it's like, okay, they did that. That's... Laurie proved herself right. But in this film, Allyson just is not even believing a word Laurie is telling her in this film. Laurie is basically saying, like, there's something up with Corey. I think there's something wrong with him. It's like, you should maybe be a little bit more careful. I'm worried about you. And Allyson is just not even listening to her and just pushes her aside and is like, you're kind of crazy. You're obsessed with death or whatever. And it's like, okay, she's completely going against, how she was in the last film. But do you know who is even more out of character in this film? The character who I base reason number 4 off of. Laurie being out of character. Okay, so just hear me out. Laurie, who has been preparing for 40 years for Michael to come back, and in this film, after not hearing a word and knowing that Michael is out there somewhere for what, like 4 years? And she's fine with it. She's completely fine. She's not even worried that Michael... She's, like, content with just... She doesn't board up her house. She doesn't, like, she doesn't, like, do anything to protect herself. She has, like, the gun that Officer Hawkins gave her, and it's like, that's really it. So let me get this straight. When Michael is known to be locked up, you prepare for his eventual return by boarding up your house and making security and doing all sorts of security things and, all this weaponry. But when he's been missing, no one knows where he is for the past 4 years, you're not going to do a single thing to protect yourself or prepare in any way. Yeah, that makes sense. Reason number 3. Corey outwrestles Michael in this film. This was the point of the film where I was literally just lost. Like, I was so appalled by what I was seeing. It was like the most ridiculous thing. So Michael's living in a sewer in this film, and so when Corey finally realizes what kind of person he's becoming, he gets really angry and he goes to the sewer where Michael is and attempts to fight him and actually succeeds and he wins, and then he takes Michael's mask? Are you kidding me? This is Michael Myers we're talking about. This is evil incarnate. Like, this is the most ridiculous thing you could have possibly put in this movie. You have Corey, this regular guy, and he is able to, like, fight Michael and win. It just makes no sense. And before you give me that argument that, oh, Michael was just so damaged and he was still healing from his wounds that he suffered in the last 2 films. And it's like, no, that's not a good excuse. It's Michael Myers. Like, I don't care. He shouldn't have to heal all this damage he suffered, and he's always been able to just come back, no problems. And then all of a sudden, now he's finally feeling like he's hurt, and he's able to have Corey beat him and take his mask. It's just reason number 2. Michael's psychic powers. Okay, before, you might be confused as to what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about the scene where Corey first discovers Michael in the sewer, and Michael grabs a hold of him and is basically, like, about to kill him, but then he looks in Corey's eyes, and you get, like, flashbacks to the opening scene where Corey kills the kid. Now, I understand that a lot of people interpret this scene differently. Some say that Michael is, like, giving Corey his evil, or some people say that Corey is, like, affected by Michael or something like that, or, like, Corey is, like, making Michael, like, kind of think, like, oh, there's some evil in him, and that's why Michael didn't kill him. No matter how you interpret it, you at least have to realize that in this moment, there is some psychic power bullshit that's going on between Michael and Corey, and I just think it's the most ridiculous thing. Yeah, they're using psychic powers on Michael again, because that worked out really well the last 2 times you tried it. Seriously, why do they keep doing this? Like, they keep on doing some sort of psychic thing with Michael, and, other people can feel his pain or, feel his evil or whatever it is. It's just, why do they keep doing it? It's so dumb. And finally, reason number 1, by far the biggest problem with this film, and I think you guys were all expecting this. Say it with me now. Reason number 1 is Corey's character. I cannot fathom why this character was put into this movie and them devoting so much of the movie's runtime to Corey. What were they thinking? Like, this is the final entry in a trilogy that has been focused on Michael Myers and Laurie and her daughter and her granddaughter. Like, why do you all of a sudden put this random character in this movie and have the whole movie focus on him? I don't get it. The movie opens with Corey killing a kid after he gets scared by Michael Myers. He thinks Michael Myers is in the room with him, and then the kid plays a prank on him, basically. Corey breaks down the door, and the door pushes the kid over the railing and sends him tumbling to his death. From there on out, the town of Haddonfield basically, like, ridicule him, and basically he's thought of as, like, a weirdo. as a psycho, and Corey has to deal with all this. And this is when he then gets in contact with the gang of bullies that I mentioned earlier. It's the most stupid thing ever. Eventually, the bullies push him over this railing, and he falls down to where the sewer is, and that's when, like I said, he comes in contact with Michael, and then they have that whole psychic whatever bullshit going on. And because of that, Corey then starts to turn into Michael. He slowly starts killing people. He kills a homeless man. He kills his mom eventually. The point they were trying to make with this film is that evil is like a disease. It infects people, you know. Michael's evil has infected the town of Haddonfield. And to be honest, the idea of that is good in concept, but in this film, it's executed just horribly because, again, this is the last in a trilogy. This trilogy is supposed to, well, it was supposed to be about, you know, Laurie, Michael, and, you know, the generations of Strodes, and now you have this last film dedicated to Corey for the most part, and it just doesn't feel like the same story. This movie doesn't feel like it's a part of the same trilogy that Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills are. Like, it just goes so off the rails, and it's like, it doesn't work. And what's even more stupid is that by the end, Corey kills himself. Well, we think he does, but then he's later revealed to be still alive a little bit, and Michael just kills him after he comes back to retrieve his mask that Corey stole from him and have a final confrontation with Laurie. What was the point of all that? What was the point of the Corey character if you're just gonna kill him and then have Michael come back for the last, 15 minutes? And by the way, that's another thing. Michael Myers is barely in this movie. The majority of this movie has Corey as the killer. And it's like, okay, you either commit to the idea and have Corey be the killer throughout the whole movie, or you just don't. You can't have it both ways and have Corey be the killer for most of the movie and then have the previous killer from the previous two movies come back for the last 15 minutes. It's the most stupid thing, and that's the biggest problem with the movie. The last 15 minutes are what was advertised to us. All of the advertisements for this movie were just focused on the last 15 minutes. And the posters, everything that was advertising this movie made it seem like the movie was entirely focused on Laurie versus Michael, a final confrontation. You get that, so it's not really false advertising. Well, I mean, it is false advertising because it's like you don't know that you're getting Corey and all of these unnecessary things. When I first heard that there was a character named Corey that was going to be in this movie, I just assumed he would just be another survivor. You know, by the end of the movie, maybe he would help Laurie and Allyson against Michael or something like that. I didn't know that the whole movie was going to just be focused on him and, all this unnecessary bullshit. It's so stupid. The last 15 minutes are what people paid for, basically. So that was Halloween Ends. Those are the 10 reasons why I think Halloween Ends sucks. Is it the worst Halloween movie ever? No, but it's certainly the worst of the trilogy. I think everyone's pretty much agreeing on that opinion. Halloween Ends is certainly the worst of the trilogy. And to be honest, my opinion has changed on this trilogy as a whole. I mean, I think Halloween Ends sucks. I think Halloween Kills is a pretty stupid movie. It sucks. And Halloween 2018 honestly gets worse every time I watch it. So I really just am not a huge fan of this trilogy. I think it has some fantastic ideas, but it's just poorly executed. And that's the problem with this trilogy. It's supposed to be, the idea of it is awesome, but it falls flat. I mean, it just doesn't work. And also the fact that this was supposed to be the quote-unquote last Halloween film. I mean, it's called Halloween Ends. And it's like, okay, like we all know it's not going to be the last Halloween movie. We know that like later on and down the line they're going to reboot the shit again and do another story. But we at least know that it is probably the last movie with Jamie Lee Curtis. And with that being said, what were you thinking? This was, if you're planning for this to be the last movie, what a joke. Honestly, what a joke this movie was. This is what you spend your time on? You spend your time on Corey and all this shit instead of, you know, having the last Jamie Lee Curtis Halloween movie focus on Laurie and Michael. So anyway, Halloween Ends is a terrible movie. It's one of the worst endings to a trilogy I've ever seen. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good night.